Welcome to Crane Training Consulting Services. This is going to be your Grove load chart tutorial. We're going to go through the steps of how to do your Grove load charts for your specialty exam for your written test. You will need a specialty exam in addition to your core exam, in order to pass and and acquire your triple CO certification in that class of crane. So there are, for mobile cranes types, there's Grove, which is your swing cab, Manitex, which is your fixed cab, and Manitowoc lattice is your lattice boom. You can either choose to do truck mount or crawler. Um, so what we're going to do here is we're going to show you the quickest way, the most efficient way, and the most accurate way to do these load charts, uh, starting on page 1 and working through to page 2, page 3, page 4, and so on. The method that I have here is probably the most efficient method that I've ever come across. Everybody, it seems to work for nearly everyone. Um, so what we're going to teach you is we're going to start with our deductions page. First, we're going to scroll down here. We'll look at this page right here is going to be all your load chart notes pertaining to that crane, the do's and don'ts, what you can and can't do, uh, certain um, oh operations that you're allowed to do, and then certain rules to follow for different operations. So this is your working quadrant, your swing radius. That's where your counterweight is going to be when you swing over the back or the side. Your 360 degree, your quadrant area. Here, this is going to be all of your deductions page. So anything underneath the tip of your crane is considered a deduction. So that is an addition to the load that you're going to be picking up. You have to add this. So that will be this plus the weight of your load will be your gross load. So that'll be the total load that your crane is picking up, because even though it's attached to the crane, it's still a deduction. So if you have, for instance, a 32-foot fixed jib, you got a fixed jib, um, that's going to be a deduction. If it's stowed, we're looking at a deduction. If you're erected, we're looking at a deduction. The reason being is that is the reason that changes. It's still the same piece of equipment, but it changes due to what's called the effective weight. So if it's stowed, well, then it's folded back on the side of the crane. It doesn't have as much leverage on the crane. The load doesn't have as much leverage on the crane. Part of it, the weight of that goes to your counterweight package. Erect, it's going to be attached to the end of the crane. So it'll be out on the end of the boom. It's attached to the end of the crane. So that effective weight is going to change. It's going to increase the weight on that crane plus the weight of that jib plus the leverage on that crane is going to increase the weight. And that is actually not going to be the exact weight of what that jib weighs if you pick it up. That's the effective weight. That's the leverage plus the weight of that jib. So the only exception to that is going to be if you have this installed and you're picking from it, or say the Teleboom and you're picking from it, then it's not going to be a deduction. There's going to be no deduction for a jib, and we'll get on into that a little bit later. But um, this is the first page that we're going to start with. This is where we're going to get all our information for all our deductions, based on what the load chart question is asking, which is down here. You'll see it down here in the right hand corner. We'll kind of pull this up just a little bit here so we can see all our answers. So we're gonna figure out what's the question asking. Let's figure out damn it, what the question is asking, and oops, having a little bit of issue here. Need to adjust this just a little bit. We're gonna figure out what the question is asking, and we're going to take all the information down, and we're going to fill in our little chart over here on the top right corner. This is just a diagram that I set up, that I built. This is how you will do your your chart configuration so that you have everything on your page so that you can look at it and do the problem and figure the problem out with the least amount of downtime or flipping pages back and forth. Every time you flip a page back and forth, you're losing just about 30 to 40 seconds by the time you flip to the right page, find what you need to find, and flip back. Whereas if you do it systematically, one step, and follow these steps, you can do it all at one time, and by the end, you don't have to flip pages. This page right here is all you're going to need. You'll have everything written down, and then you can come over here and do your answers, fill out your answers. So, let's go ahead and get started here. Uh, the first thing I tell everybody to write down is the things that are not going to change. The stuff that is not going to change is going to be your 7,800 pounds of counterweight. Is going to be your counterweight here package. That's not going to change for this group of load charts. It's always going to be 7,800 pound removable counterweight and outriggers extended. You're always going to have outriggers extended for the Grove load chart test. Another thing is your line pull. Your line pull is used to determine how many parts of line that we're going to need to make that pick. In this case, one part of line is good for 12,920. So we'll need, so say I'm picking something that's 24,000, I'll need two parts of line on that block. So that'll be 24,840, I think. Um, but those are the things that are never going to change. So those are the things I tell everybody to write down immediately, so that we have them. They're never going to change, so you might as well write them down. So we'll go ahead and we're going to get started on our load chart tutorial. So what it's asking, we're going to go ahead and write the 7,800 pounds of counterweight right here. That's never going to change. We're going to write down our outriggers extended. That's never going to change. And we're going to write our line pull because that's never going to change. So we'll go ahead. We got that. Now that we've got that written down, we'll start down here in the bottom right corner on our load chart question. First of all, we're going to figure out what's the question asking. It's asking what is the net capacity lifting off the main boom over the side. Okay, so lifting over the main boom off the main boom over the side, that tells us that that is the 360-degree load chart. Okay, we already know that we're going to be a 360-degree load chart. So what we're going to do, we're going to come over here, we're going to put setup configuration 360 degree chart, 360 degree load chart. So the next one we're going to do, we're going to move right down the line. We stay in that column and we move right down the line systematically. Do not skip, do not jump left to right, one at a time, each question or each deduction as it goes. So 7,800 pound of counterweight. Now we have how much boom do we have? We have our main boom here, and our main boom is saying we have 40 feet. So we're going to go ahead and put that in our box up here. Now, even though I have this guide to put it in, what you will do is you won't have any of this. But this is how you'll set it up. This is how you'll write it minus the lines and the structure. So you'll draw your little diagram here. This indicates your crane boom, your radius, your crane boom, your boom angle, your tip height. It's all there. This is how you'll set it up just without the structured diagram that I have laid out here. This is just, you just draw it out minus the layout. You know, you won't have any of these lines. If you did all that, it'd take way too much time. You just draw your diagram, make your section for your deductions, and all that stuff. So now our next one, we have main boom angle NA. We don't have a main boom angle, non-applicable. We don't have something to write down for that. So we'll bypass that and we'll keep going. We'll write our radius now. Our radius, we have 10-foot radius. So down here at the bottom, this is going to be our radius section. We're going to write 10 foot. So that is going to be the center of your crane to your horizontal line here. That's going to be from the center of the crane to your radius. That's going to be how far you boom down from the crane. That boom is away from the crane. Your load is away from the crane. So when you boom down, that radius is going to increase. You might start here, and as you boom down, as this comes lower to the ground, your load's gonna increase. So we're at 10 feet. We're pretty close to the carrier of the crane. Our next question, we got an other here. This is another spot for a deduction. So in addition to the load that's hanging below the tip. So if we have our ox head, that's part of our deductions, that's hanging off the tip. We will and add, say they add a load. So they're asking for the gross load. If they're asking for the gross load, there will be a load here. It'll say maybe 16,500 pounds, or there'll be a spreader bar here. It's another deduction that that is not specified in the load charts to the left. So there's no deduction for it. It's an extra deduction that they've added, such as a load, and they're specifying the weight of it. So we don't have anything in other here. So the next other, we're working, as you notice, we're working down that column. The next one is auxiliary boom head. We do have a natural deduction for that. Your auxiliary boom head will be right here on your load chart, and that is 143 pounds. So what we're going to do is we're going to write, this is going to be our first deduction, 143 pounds. We're just going to write 143 right there. Because by the time we get done putting all our deductions in, we're going to total them down here, and it says what is the net capacity, and we're going to put our net capacity right here under your gross load. You put your net capacity or all your deductions, because your gross load is what the load, or your gross capacity is what your crane can pick. uh, your net load is going to be all of these deductions added up. You put it under here, take your net load, or your gross load, minus all your deductions. So all of these added up, the weight of all these, minus it from your gross capacity. That is going to be your your um, your net capacity, or your net load, and that's what the answers down here will come out to. In fact, I'm gonna fix this real quick here so that it's not confusing. Give me a second. So this is going to be our gross capacity here. You'll put your deductions underneath here. This is an equation, so it's a minus sign here. And then you'll write your answer down here, and then you'll find it down here. And circle it or highlight it, however. So you do your gross capacity, the hard number on your chart. These numbers right here, these are your gross capacities. These are the hard numbers on your chart. So if you are got 30-foot radius, and we've got a 60-foot main boom length, so we're going to come over here, and that'll equal 23,350. That is our gross capacity. So we'll take our gross capacity minus all these deductions. That's going to give us our net capacity, and that's what this question is asking. What is the net capacity lifting off the main boom over the side? So net capacity, 360-degree chart. So without further, we're going to continue to write our deductions down. We got 143 for our auxiliary head we've established. So now we're going to start over on the next page. So we've our extension. What extensions do we have? Says there's a 32-foot fixed extension and it's stowed. So we're going to come over here. We found the 32-foot fixed extension and it's stowed. This is the weight for stowed. So we're going to come over here and we're going to add our stowed weight for the fixed extension. That is 267 pounds. Keep that. Now moving down the line, offset angle. There's no offset angle because the boom is stowed on this, or the jib is stowed on the side. Our next one is our block, and that's a 45-ton with cheek plates. Make sure you pay attention. With and without cheek plates, the number is different. One has the cheek plates, so this has the cheek plates here. The other without the cheek plates. That's going to be 895 and 1095. Those will be different. That will be detrimental. Make sure you pay attention to things like that. So we have our 45 with cheek plates, 6 parts of line. 6 parts of line is, so we have our 45 ton with cheek plates, 6 parts of line. So 6 parts of line, that is important. That's going to be important for two things. One of two things. One is it's going to let us know if we have a line deduction. Two, can we make the pick? So we have to have enough line pull in order to pick up what the question is asking. So whatever our gross load is. So if our crane's good for 66,000, but our line pull's only good for 12,920, that means we're only capable of picking up 12,920. Now, if we increase that or double that line, if we add another leg of that, then we're good for double the 12,920. You see how that works? The more legs you add in, the more you're good for it. It doubles the pulling capacity of what your line capacity is. So for our extension stowed, we're going to go ahead. We have that our aux head and deductions. I don't know what I did up here. We need to fix some stuff. So now we're going to move on to our block. We have the 45-ton block with cheek plates, I believe. Yeah, with cheek plates, 6 parts of line. 45-ton with cheek plates, 6 parts of line. That will be a deduction or an addition to under our deductions of 1,095 pounds. So we also have 6 parts of line. So another thing I do here is add that to our, let's see here, if I can fix this real quick. 6 parts of line, so we'll do /6. So that lets me know that I have 6 parts of line on that, because I'm going to need to know that down here at the bottom for our auxiliary or for our main line. And we'll get to that a little bit later here. So what's our next deduction? Our ball. We don't have a ball, so we don't have a whip line, so there's not going to be any deduction for that. So I will just put a big fat 0 right there. Or you can just leave it blank or not put it on there at all. Then our next one is rigging. Our rigging, and it tells us how much our rigging is, since that's not a normal deduction. Our rigging is 337 pounds. So I think that's everything for now. Now we have our main line and our auxiliary line. We do not know how much we're going to have. We know for a fact, we do know that we don't have an auxiliary line. So that's going to be a big fat 0 right there. We do not know for a main line. What we're going to do is we're going to go find our tip height next, and then from there we're going to find what load chart we need to do. So what we're doing is we're progressing through this load chart so we don't have to go back, because we're done with all our deductions now that we can put in. So we're going to move on to our range diagram here. Now you don't want to, we're looking at, we have a 40-foot boom length and at 10-foot radius. So right here is our, if you look over here to the left, follow my cursor, we have our 10-foot down here on the next to rotation axis. That's going to be our radius. So then we have our 40-foot up on the right, boom next to boom and extension length in feet. That's going to be your boom length side. On the left side of the page, we have height from ground in feet. So that's going to be your tip height. That's what we need to know. So we have this line. We'll follow this vertical line all the way up and follow the arc from 40 feet over. Make sure when you're doing load charts you follow that arc. You don't say we have 30-foot radius and a 50-foot boom length. You don't follow that straight line across to the 30-foot, because that's going to give you a false boom or tip height. So you would be like, oh, we'll follow it over here and follow it here where these two meet. Oh, that's 60-foot tip height. No, that's wrong. You follow that arc, so from 30 to 50, that's going to land in between 40 and 50. See how that arc meets the 30-foot line here? So then we follow that over. If you're between tip heights, when this is landed between 40 and 50, you don't interpolate. Load charts, you never interpolate. Always use hard numbers. Physical numbers. Never guess, because you're going to be wrong every time. So now, and since we're between, the rule is when you're between a tip height, you go to the next highest. So you see that we're between 40 and 50. So we'll go to 50. 50 feet is going to be our tip height for that specific question. But the question that is being asked is a 40-foot, the boom length is 40 feet, radius is 10 feet. So we're going to come up here, find where that 40 arc's at. So that's going to put us between 40 and 50 feet, ironically. So we're going to go to the next highest boom height, the next highest tip height. So that's going to be 50 feet. So our tip height is going to be 50 feet. So we're going to put that right here. Put big 50 feet. That's going to be our tip height. That's what we're going to need to know to do an accurate line deduction, if there is a line deduction. So now we're done with that. We're going to move to the following page. Our question is asking, what is the net capacity when lifting off the main boom over the side? So it's going to be a 360-degree chart. That's our chart, 360. So that's the chart we're going to use. You notice the next one is going to be on outriggers fully extended over the rear. We won't use that one. There's only two charts on this for main boom capacities. That's over the rear and 360. So we're going to be using the on outriggers fully extended over the side or the 360 chart. So we're going to find our gross capacity. And this right here on the right side, underneath here is where we're going to put our gross capacity for the equation. So we have a 10-foot boom, 10-foot radius with a, what's the question asking? 40 foot of main boom. 40 foot of main boom. So we're going to come together at 10 foot, follow that across here till you hit the 40-foot column. It's going to be 68,000 is what our gross capacity is. So we're under gross capacity, we're going to put 68,000. And we'll make that a little bit bigger so you guys can see it a little better. Make that 68,000. Put that right in the middle here. So 68,000 is our gross capacity. All right. So now we're done with this load chart. With the load charts here, that's the last page that we need to find for a load chart in order to find our net capacity. Gross capacity. You cannot do fractional parts line. So every part of line that you need to make that pick is not a deduction. Any excess parts of line that you need or that you don't need to make that pick is a deduction from tip to ground. So if I need 4 parts of line and I have 6 parts of line, that means I don't need 2 of those parts lines. So we would add down on your main line deduction down here, we would do 50 times 2. That would be 100 pounds. And then say we needed 4 parts of line and we had 7. That would be 50 times 3. Because you only need 12,000. So each part of line is good to pick up 12,920. And it's doubled when you need 2 parts line, tripled when you need 3 parts line. You're just adding 12,920 each time you add a part of line. That's going to be your capacity to lift with. So in this case, we have 68,000 pounds. That's going to be our pick. That's what we are going to need to be good for. So we'll do 68,000 pounds, or 68,000 divided by 12,920 equals 5.2. And as I said before, you can't use fractional parts of line. You round up. Whenever if you're past 5.0, then you round up. If you're 5.01, you round up to 6. It's always going to be rounded up because you need that 6-part line to make that pick. Anything over 5 parts line, you need to make that pick. Or anything over a whole part of line, you need to make that pick. So if you have 6.1, you need 7 parts of line to make that pick. Because 12,920, so 68,000 divided by 12,920 is 5.2. So we'll automatically go to 6. So that means the 6 parts of line that we have here on our block, we need. We need all 6 parts of line. So that means that there will be no deduction for that. There will be no deduction for our parts of line. So now we can complete our deductions here. So what we'll do, we're going to add up all our deductions and we're going to put it in the total spot here. So 143 plus 267 plus 1,095 plus 337, and we don't have any other deductions, equals 1,842. So we'll put that right here. 1,842. That is going to be the total of all of our deductions under the tip. So then what I do is I put it right here as well. We'll do 1,842. Let's put a little comma there, 1,842. So we have 68,000, which is our gross capacity. That's what was the hard number on our load chart, where the 40 and 10 foot met was at 68,000. So that's going to be our gross capacity. It's asking what our net capacity is. Remember, net capacity is your gross capacity minus all these deductions on the right over here. So that is going to be, go on our calculator, and you will get a calculator for your load chart test. So we'll go 68,000 minus 1,842 equals 66,158, and that will be number 3 on our load chart. That will be answer 3. So 66,158 pounds. So 66,158 pounds. And that is our answer. And then you have just successfully completed your net capacity tutorial. Um, I am going to be adding more videos for each one of the load charts on here, but this is just your basic tutorial, your basic load chart, main boom configuration. They do get much harder from here, or they get harder and more complicated from here, but this is the basic configuration. So um, that being said, I'm going to go ahead and end this tutorial. Thank you for paying attention, and keep going.